Associate Professor of Pathology from Sree Balaji Medical College and Hospital, Chennai. So I have got around 7 years of experience and 15 publications to my account. So today we'll be seeing 3 topics: hypertension, atherosclerosis and vasculitis. So the first topic will be hypertension. So what is hypertension? As you all know, in layman terms, increased blood pressure or elevated blood pressure is known as hypertension. So we have a cutoff for it to call it as hypertension. So we classify hypertension into normotensive, borderline elevated or overt hypertension. What is normotensive? So when the BP is within the normal range, that is between 120 mm of mercury and 80 mm of mercury. We call it as borderline if it is in the range of 120 to 130 systolic and diastolic 90 mm of mercury. Overt hypertension when it is above 130 mm of mercury systolic and above 90 mm of mercury diastolic. So this is the definition of hypertension. So we classify hypertension into essential hypertension and secondary hypertension. So what is essential hypertension? So it is a multifactorial disorder resulting from cumulative effects of multiple genetic polymorphisms and environmental factors. So this accounts for about 90 to 95% of hypertension. So most of the patients are having idiopathic, which is otherwise called as essential hypertension, and only the remaining 5 to 10% of hypertension is secondary hypertension. What is it? It is the result of an underlying disease. It can be a disease of your renal system or adrenal disease or other systemic diseases. Example of renal disease will be your renal artery stenosis. Example of adrenal disease will be your Cushing syndrome or pheochromocytoma. As you know, pheochromocytoma is a benign tumor of the adrenal glands. So this table shows us the causes of secondary hypertension. Broadly, it is classified into renal, endocrine, cardiovascular causes and neurological causes. So now moving on to the most important part, that is pathology, pathogenesis of hypertension. There are 3 changes that happens in the vessels. First one is hyaline arteriosclerosis, which is nothing but deposition of homogeneous pink material along with luminal narrowing. Next one is hyperplastic arteriosclerosis. What is it? This occurs in cases of severe hypertension. The vessels exhibit concentric laminated thickening of the walls with luminal narrowing. This appearance is known as onion skinning. The third feature is necrotizing arteriolysis. I am going to show you an image which will show us the pathogenesis of hypertension in HPE. So the first image is a glomeruli along with arteriole. What you see here is the arteriole is showing homogeneous pink deposition in the lumen, which has caused almost complete narrowing of the vessel. And also you see here is the glomerulus is sclerosed, which is more commonly seen in case of nodular glomerulosclerosis, which is a complication of diabetes mellitus. So the B image here shows hyperplastic arteriosclerosis. What is hyperplastic arteriosclerosis? Like we earlier discussed, it causes complete narrowing and there is an appearance of onion skinning, which is seen in case of severe hypertension. So moving on to our next topic, atherosclerosis. What is atherosclerosis? It is a chronic disease of large and medium-sized vessels in which there is deposition of fat, fibrous tissue, cholesterol, all together forming a plaque that is known as atheromatosis plaque. What does these plaques do? These plaques causes narrowing and hardening of the arteries, leading to reduced blood flow to the organs and tissues. And this is one major risk factor for development of myocardial infarction. Now, we classify the risk factors of atherosclerosis into modifiable and non-modifiable. Like you know, non-modifiable are genetic factors, your age or family history. Modifiable risk factors are hyperlipidemia, hypertension, cigarette smoking and diabetes, like you all know. Now, moving on to the pathogenesis. There are various mechanisms that cause this plaque formation. The first starting point here is the endothelial dysfunction. What does it do? it causes infiltration of your LDLs and macrophages into the tunica media. When they enter the tunica media, they cause certain reaction. So what do? They attract more of macrophages into the tunica media, and there is fat cells already, that is your LDL, which gets oxidized into oxidized LDL. These oxidized LDL are foreign to that area. So what these macrophages do is they try to engulf this. In this process, they become foamy cells. What are these foamy cells? These foamy cells have lots of fat or the oxidized LDL in their cytoplasm. They in turn attract more of fat cells, and there is smooth muscle proliferation that is happening there. How do they do it? By secreting cytokines. What are these cytokines? They are inflammatory mediators. So, in this process, there is foam cell formation, smooth muscle migration and proliferation that has happened. So, all these together forms a fatty streak. This fatty streak, what happens later is it involves into a fibrofatty plaque. What does it contain? It contains a lipid core which is composed of foam cells and necrotic debris, and it has a superficial rimming called as fibrous cap, which is majorly composed of smooth muscles and collagen. So all these along with smooth muscles, collagens, extracellular matrix forms a atheromatous plaque. What are the complications of these atheromatous plaques? The major one is means calcification. So it gets calcified over time, and there are risk of rupture and ulceration, which in turn can become a thrombi. So this thrombi is the risk factor for developing myocardial infarction. So what are the clinical presentations? When the atheroma forms in in arteries like coronary arteries, cerebral arteries or peripheral arteries, it presents differently. When it affects your coronary arteries, it can present as angina. What you know is a chest pain. Okay, angina is nothing but chest pain. Or it can present as myocardial infarction as such. You all know what myocardial infarction is, right? Complete occlusion of the coronary vessels which supply the heart. So there is ischemia. Ischemia presents as angina along with the constitutional symptoms. The patient will be having profuse sweating, and there will be chest pain which is referred to your neck and back. And so these are the clinical presentations when it involves coronary arteries. What if it involves cerebral arteries? What is cerebral arteries? The arteries which supply your brain. So when there is atheroma plaque formation in your coronary arteries, it presents as MI or angina. When it involves cerebral arteries, it presents as stroke. What is stroke? When there is loss of blood supply to your particular area in brain, it presents as weakness. There can be paralysis or paraplegia. Can involve one half of your body or all your limbs. Okay, it depends on the amount of damage it has done and the area where the plaque has lodged. So the other findings will be your peripheral arteries. How does it present in peripheral arteries? It presents as pain on walking, which we otherwise call as intermittent claudication. When it involves your aorta, what is aorta? Your major vessel, right? When it involves aorta, it can present as aneurysm. What is aneurysm? Dilatation of your aorta, or it can also rupture at times. So these are the clinical features of atherosclerosis. Now, moving on to your last topic, that is vasculitis. What is vasculitis? Vasculitis is vessel wall inflammation. There is some inflammation going on in the vessel wall. So it can involve small vessels, large vessels, or even your smallest vessels. So it can be divided into systemic or localized vasculitis. What do you understand by systemic? When it involves multiple vascular beds. If it is localized, means it affects only a particular organ or a tissue. So what is the mechanism of vasculitis? It can be of immune or non-immune related. Immune related is deposition of immune complexes, or there is some stimulation of immune related mechanism. And non-immune, the causes will be more commonly infectious. The infection can be of bacterial or fungal. In bacteria, Pseudomonas is the most common organism that causes vasculitis, or in fungal, it can be aspergillosis or your mucormycosis. So, non-infectious vasculitis is characterized based on the caliber of the vessel that it affects. So, we have classified non-infectious vasculitis into large vessel vasculitis, medium vessel vasculitis, or small vessel vasculitis. There are over 25 primary forms of non-infectious vasculitis that has been recognized. So, this table gives you an overview of types of vasculitis. Like large cell vasculitis, under that you have giant cell arteritis and Takayasu arteritis. In medium vessel vasculitis, you have TAO, which we call as thromboangiitis obliterans, otherwise known as Berger's disease, which is more commonly seen in smokers. And the other medium vessel vasculitis are polyarteritis nodosa and Kawasaki disease. So, next classification is your small vessel vasculitis. The most common one under this category will be your ANCA-associated vasculitis. And the last classification is immune complex vasculitis, which are seen in systemic diseases like SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, IgA related disease. So, this vasculitis is seen in association with other diseases. Now, pathogenesis. We'll just briefly discuss about giant cell arteritis and Takayasu arteritis in this class. So, what is giant cell arteritis? As the name goes by, it affects the large caliber vessels, okay, more commonly seen in case of temporal artery, okay. So, what does this patient present with? Initially with non-specific symptoms or complaints like fatigue, weight loss, fever. This is not specific, right? Most of the diseases presents with these symptoms initially, whereas when the disease progresses, it involves your major vessels. So, the vessels supplying the organs, then they present with the particular symptoms, like when it involves your eye, it presents with visual defects and retinal hemorrhages. In case of extremities, when there is complete narrowing, it presents as weaker pulses with weak pulse, okay. When there is involvement of distal aorta, it can present as claudication of legs. Like we already discussed, what is claudication? Pain on walking, intermittent pain on walking. When it involves your pulmonary artery, which is a major artery, it presents as pulmonary hypertension. So, when it involves the arteries of the specific organ, it presents with those symptoms. So, this is about giant cell arteritis. What is Takayasu arteritis? Again, it is also a granulomatous disease of medium and large arteries. So, both giant cell arteritis and Takayasu arteritis presents with similar signs and symptoms. The only differentiating point here is the age, okay. If the patient has all these findings and if the patient's age is less than 50, we'll go with the diagnosis of Takayasu. If the patient's age is more than 50, we go with the diagnosis of giant cell arteritis. Is that clear? So, if the patient's age is less than 50, it is Takayasu. If it is more than 50, we diagnose as giant cell arteritis. So, we have two images here. One shows the gross appearance of temporal artery. Can you see the artery here is very prominent and dilated? That is because of the narrowing. And the second image here shows the involvement of your common carotid artery and its branches, which is more commonly seen in your Takayasu arteritis. And the cut section of the arteries here shows complete lumen narrowing. Can you see the lumen is almost obliterated? It's only a thin safety pin like lumen which is visible there. So, this is how it causes arteritis. And the HP images here are related to your medium vessel vasculitis like thromboangiitis obliterans, otherwise known as Berger's disease. What you see here is the lumen is completely occluded by a thrombi composed of neutrophils predominantly, and polyarteritis nodosa. What you see here is the diagnostic feature here is the fibrinoid necrosis in the innermost layer of the vessel. So, that comes to the end of the class. I hope you guys understood the class. See you soon with another interesting topic. Thank you.